All right, so here we are getting ready to do the first steps of installing the dash cover on my 240 dash. The first thing I'm going to do is I've already masked out around the cracks in the dash, and I'm going to fill these cracks with some epoxy. I got some JB Weld plastic bond, black color. This is probably not necessary, but I was just a little bit afraid of this torquing when I went over bumps and popping off the new cover. So I masked this all out. It's kind of an experiment. I got nothing to lose. I'm going to fill this in with the epoxy, let it dry, sand it smooth, and see if that helps at all. If not, I lost nothing. It's all going to be covered up with the cover anyway, except for on the underside here. So if the top side comes out pretty decent, I'll also fill the underside to kind of hopefully clean up that crack. So let's see how it comes out. Okay, so now I spread it on. This took about one full tube of epoxy to do this side. I'm gonna let this cure for about a half hour, sand it, and then kind of see where we stand there. And if this looks okay, I'll do the underside where you'd actually be able to see. All of this would be covered by the plastic cover. Down here, I decided not to do since I gotta get some sort of speaker grate to cover that anyway. Find one in the junkyard. All right, let's take a look. They're cured. Not 100% sure I'd recommend it. I'll take another shot after I peel off all this tape, but it did strengthen this gap here. I mean, it actually sealed very well. It stuck very well inside the crack. It's very secure, and this definitely strengthened where this crack that ran all the way across the entire length of the dash. The epoxy really did strengthen that up, so that was good. So here's a shot of the underside. You can see the epoxy fill right there. And that's the same crack that runs all the way around the other side of the dash. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray all these parts of the dash that you're still going to be able to see. So these lower edges, this bottom edge, over here. I'm going to spray that all with some SEM color coat, Landau Black. So we'll see how this covers up. If this, so I'm hoping this will paint over well and kind of blend in with the rest of the dash. All right, getting ready to glue this on. Looking here at the fit a little more closely, what's going to be tricky are these parts here. Sort of after this first comes down, they don't rest very well up against the original dash. It's going to have to clamp it and just kind of do the best I can. I mean, it's not a very visible part of the dash, but I still want it to be adhered as best I can. I got some clamps and some tape, so we'll see how it works out. All right, the instructions say to sand, lightly sand with a medium grit around the outside perimeter of the dash cover and also around any openings. That's the only place we're going to put the glue. We have the glue in a hot water bath as per the manufacturer's instruction to make it flow better. And we have our clamps and tape ready to go. It says hi cat. All right, here we are all clamped up. Looks pretty good. I think really taping down this edge was probably the most important part. If you look here and here, it's still not 100% down against the dash, but it looks good enough in those spots. You're really never gonna notice that. Be careful not to do what I did with the Jorgensen clamp there. I don't know if you can see, it's a little bit in the shadow, but I broke some of this plastic by clamping down on this vent, defroster vent on the other side, so be careful if you're doing that. By the way, the manufacturer suggests if you're installing this with the dash in place on the car, what you should do is take rolls of paper towels and wedge them between the dash and the glass as clamps. So, I mean, that's another option. All right, we're gonna let this dry overnight and see how it looks. Okay, here it is installed, glued up and dry. This is the front. Looks good. What's nice is once it's on and, you know, sort of in shadow, I can't even really see the crack, which was right there. I filled with epoxy and painted. It's basically invisible. Moving around to the back side. The adhesion here on the edge between the cover and the dash is real good. You can see it really just kind of blends in there. It's not coming up at all. This is nice. The only place where it's a little bit loose is right here. I didn't really, I mean, it seemed like it was going to be a little tough to have to clamp that and push this all the way down. It looks fine like that. It actually looks, I think, a little better. Slightly up from the defrost vent, then pushed down. But everywhere else, it's very flat to the dash. You know, same thing over here. This is the only place where it's a little loose and the fit isn't really perfect. I mean, looking at it, honestly, you'll never notice this when you're driving it, but it is, you know, probably the only place where the fit really isn't good. Is right here where it changes the angle and goes by these right here where it changes the angle and goes by these defroster vents. Otherwise, it glued up nice, secure on there, so I'm gonna have to install it on the car and see how it looks.